So this is section 3.2 functions. Our learning target is to develop a concept of functions and be able to recognize functions and one-to-one functions. So we're going to start off with some definitions. First, we have a function. So before we were learning about relations, any way that x's and y's are associated together. Now we're going to go further into functions and one-to-one functions. So a function, for every value in the x domain, so every x, there is one and only one value in the range. Okay, so every x goes to only one y. Each element in the domain corresponds to exactly one element in the range. And what that means functionally is we have no repeats in x values. Okay, there's no double x's. So let's say if you had 2 and 3, 3 and 4, you wouldn't have 2 again and 8. Okay, this would be a repeat in x. And we don't want to have that. So we would need, for this to be a function, this would need to be, a 7. Okay, it needs to be a different number. A one-to-one function is a function in which every value in the domain is associated with only one value in the range. So this means no repeats in x or y. Okay, so this one I actually did up here is not only a function, it's also a one-to-one function. If I change this 4 to be a 3, okay, so here we have a repeat in the y of 3. This would still be a function, but it would no longer be a one-to-one function. So let's look at some pictures like that. So here we're having the x go to the y, the x2 go to the y2, the x3 go to the y3. So if our options, we have relation, we have function, and we have 1-to-1 function. Okay, this is a relation because it's a relationship between x and y. It's a function because we have no repeats in x value. And it's a one-to-one function because we also have no repeats in our y value. The next one, relation, function, and one-to-one. I'm just going to do shorthand. So first we're going to see, is it a relation? Yes, there's a relationship between x and y. Is it a function? So if we look at our x, we have x1, x2, x3. They're never used more than one time. So it is a function. Is it a one-to-one function? In this case, no, it's not a one-to-one function because two of these guys are going to the same number here. They're both going to y1. So it is not a one-to-one function. And then the last one, relation, function, one-to-one. So it's a relation, yes, because there's some relationship between the two. Is it a function? Here we have an x going to two different y's. So that means if you wrote these out in points, you would have x1 and then y1 and then another point that was x1 and y2. So you have a repeat in this x. So it is not a function. And then anything that has a repeat in x, you don't even need to look to see if there's a repeats in y. As soon as it's not a function, it's automatically not a one-to-one function. So let's look at that with some actual numbers. We're going to see if are these guys relations, are they functions, are they one-to-one? We're going to do that for all of them. Relation, function, one-to-one. Relation, function, one-to-one. Relation, function, one-to-one. Okay? So first we're going to look at our x values. So first of all, for all of them, they're always relations. Okay, as long as they're written in ordered pairs like this, there's some sort of correlation between x and y. They're all relations. So let's look at functions next. -1, 2, and 4. So there is no repeat in our x values. 3, 0, 2. No repeat in x values. 1, 2, 1. Oh, here we have 1 twice. So it is not a function. And then last one here we have, so you can also use words, John, Dylan. So here we have the word John twice. So it's not a function. So it can be numbers and words. Now we need to look at one-to-one. So now we want no repeats in the y. So 2, 2, 5. So this one is not 1-to-1 because it has 2 twice. Next, we're going to look here, -5, 1, 5. So this one has no repeat, so it is a 1-to-1 function. These last two, because they're not functions, they're automatically not 1-to-1 functions. We don't even need to look. We can just write x's for those. So that's figuring out functions and 1-to-1 functions with points. We can also do it with graphs. When given a graph, we can use 2 tests to determine whether a graph is a function and or a 1-to-1 function. We have the vertical line test. This graph represents a function when no 2 points on the graph lie on the same vertical line. We run a ruler vertically along the graph and should only touch once. This tells us if it's a function. Then we have the horizontal line test. Tells us if is it a 1-to-1 function. It has to pass the vertical line test first, and no 2 points on the graph lie in the same horizontal line. Okay, so it has to pass this first to be able to do this. So let's do the vertical line test on all these guys. Whoops. So a vertical line test. Whoops. Vertical line test. Vertical line test. So VLT means vertical line test. So if we were going to run a ruler through here in little snippets, okay, there's no place along here if I ran a line down here that it would hit the line in 2 places. So for all of these, so this one passes the vertical line test. So that means it's a function. Let's try the next one. So if we ran this down, snip, 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 it would pass. So this one is a function. This next one, if I ran a vertical line, let's make a vertical line just to show you. So here's a vertical line. Look, it's hitting it in 2 spots. Okay, so this fails the vertical line test. This is not a function. Okay, and because it's not a function, we don't even need to do the horizontal line test. Also, not 1-to-1. Not 1-to-t, 1-to-1. Okay, it's also not a 1-to-1 function because anything that fails the first one automatically fails the second one. Now for these two, we can go back and do the horizontal line test because they passed the first test. So here, if we were to do some cuts with the horizontal line, it would never hit the horizontal line twice. So this passes, and it's a 1-to-1 function also. This one, if we drew a horizontal line through here, it hit 2 times on the graph. So this fails, and it is not a 1-to-1 function. Okay, so that's it for this section. Now you can go to page 123 and do questions 3, 6, and then 7 to 15.